Taxpayers could face a £234 billion bill if about 800,000 migrants are allowed to settle in the UK indefinitely, the Centre for Policy Studies has warned. The think tank co-founded by Margaret Thatcher found that between January 2021 and June 2024 just over 2 million visas were issued to migrants who will be eligible to apply for indefinite leave to remain. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch said, "The country simply can't afford the Labour Party's lax approach to immigration." The CPS expects between 742,000 and 1,224,000 of those eligible to apply to remain in the UK will be granted permission. If 801,000 stay, it has calculated the net cost to the country will be the equivalent of £8,200 for every UK household over several decades. The research comes on the heels of a call by Mrs. Badenoch for migrants who claim benefits to be barred from settling in Britain indefinitely. She wants the time migrants must wait before applying for the right to remain in the UK to doubled from 5 to 10 years. The Tory leader said, "The Conservatives will seek to force a vote on this tomorrow in Parliament. I sincerely hope that Labour MPs recognise the strength of public feeling on this issue. I don't just understand the anger at the levels of immigration, I share it." Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp said, "It is simply unfair for British taxpayers to be asked to subsidise recent immigrants who have never paid in. These numbers show why the new plan we announced last week is so important. People who come here to work but either don't work or who only earn low wages should not be allowed to stay, but must be required to leave." "We cannot allow freeloading off hard-working British taxpayers. We will be pressing the government to adopt our plan." Carl Williams, research director at the think tank, said a significant proportion of recent migration to the UK has been people who are very unlikely to be fiscal contributors, adding that, in the very near future they will be eligible to apply to remain in the UK long-term, gaining access to the NHS, social housing, universal credit and other benefits on the same terms as British citizens. Under the Conservative plan, residency would be denied to migrants with criminal records or who have claimed benefits or occupied social housing. Mr. Philp said Labour must now decide whether or not to back the changes, saying this is a real test, which will show if it is serious or not about controlling our borders. Recent figures from the Office for National Statistics suggest that net migration could push the UK population to 72.5 million by 2032. It expects nearly 5 million people will come to live in the UK in the decade leading up to 2032. Net migration hit 906,000 in the 12 months to June 2023. The Shadow Home Secretary said the numbers coming into the country since Brexit were far too high. The most recent census found that in England and Wales 880,000 people could not speak English while 161,000 could not speak the language at all. Warning of the consequences, Mr. Philp said, "I think it puts communities under huge pressure and there is a risk that some parts of the country become effectively segregated, which is, I think, very damaging for the fabric of society." A Labour spokesperson said, "The Tories completely lost control of our borders over 14 years in government. On their watch net migration rose to nearly 1 million and dangerous small boat crossings soared. After more than a decade of shameful failure, the Conservatives have zero credibility on immigration. A Home Office spokesperson said, "These figures refer to a period of historically high levels of net migration under the previous government. We have been clear that the levels seen in recent years have been completely unacceptable, and we have committed to reducing those numbers substantially." Under our plan for change, we will publish a white paper early this year to set out a comprehensive plan to restore order to our broken immigration system. We will link our immigration, skills and visa systems so we can grow our domestic workforce, end the reliance on overseas labor and boost economic growth. Migrants to the UK, also known as migrants, can come from many countries and for many different reasons, such as seeking employment, family reunification, study, or seeking asylum. The UK government has different immigration policies, depending on the purpose and status of the immigrant. Types of immigration to the UK include Work Visa Scheme. People with special skills or working in occupations in shortage can apply for a work visa. This visa can allow immigrants to work for a certain period of time or permanently if they meet the requirements. Study visa. International students can apply for a visa to study at universities, colleges or educational institutions in the UK. After completing their course, many students can look for work opportunities. Family Reunion Scheme. Immigrants can reunite with their families, if they have relatives living legally in the UK. Asylum. People whose lives or safety are threatened because of their political, religious, racial or sexual orientation can apply for asylum in the UK. Settlement. After a period of lawful living and working in the UK, immigrants may be eligible to apply for permanent residence and eventually British citizenship. Each visa type and immigration process has different requirements, and in recent years the UK government has introduced stricter immigration rules, especially following the UK's departure from the European Union, Brexit. Continuing on the UK immigration forms, here is some more detailed information about the specific visa types and immigration processes. (1) Work visa. Skilled worker visa, granted to people who have a specific job in the UK with a minimum salary. The main condition for applying for this visa is that the job must be on the skilled occupation list and the applicant must have a sponsor from a UK employer. Global talent visa, for people with outstanding talent in the fields of science, arts, or technology. Applicants must have recognition from a UK organisation for their abilities. Health and care worker visa, for people working in the health and social care sector, helping to attract health professionals from overseas to the UK to work in hospitals and health facilities. (2) Study visa. Student visa, for international students who want to study at a UK university or educational institution. To get this visa, students need to prove that they are studying and have enough money to live in the UK during their studies. Short-term study visa, for those who want to study short courses in the UK for less than 6 months. Graduate visa. After completing a course in the UK, students can apply for this visa to stay and look for work for up to 2 years, or 3 years for students with a doctorate. Three. Family reunification. Family visa. If you have a relative living legally in the UK, you can apply for a visa to reunite with them. This visa can be for your spouse, children, or other family members depending on the specific requirements. Parent of a child in the UK. If you are the parent of a child living in the UK, you can apply for a visa to live and care for your child. Four. Asylum and humanitarian protection. Asylum seekers, people fleeing war, violence, or political persecution can apply for asylum in the UK. The asylum process can be lengthy and requires proving that you would be in danger if you return to your home country. Refugee status. If granted asylum, immigrants will have the right to stay in the UK and receive legal protection. After a period of time, they can apply to become permanent residents. 5. Indefinite leave to remain, ILR. After a period of time in the UK, usually 5 years, immigrants can apply for permanent residence. This allows them to live and work in the UK without a visa. To apply for ILR, you need to prove that you have met work and income requirements, and have not breached immigration rules. After having ILR, you may be eligible to apply for British citizenship if you meet the requirements for living in the UK for a certain period of time and understanding British culture and history. Six. British citizenship regime. After living in the UK for a certain period of time with ILR, you may be able to apply for British citizenship if you meet the requirements, including living in the UK for a certain period of time and not breaching immigration conditions. Changes after Brexit. After the UK left the European Union, Brexit, EU citizens no longer have the automatic right to live and work in the UK as before. This has led to the UK introducing a points-based visa system for all non-UK citizens, including EU citizens. This system requires visa applicants to achieve enough points based on factors such as salary, job skills, and English ability. Immigration and immigration regulations updates. The UK government regularly updates and changes immigration regulations, especially in light of changing political and economic circumstances. Therefore, if you or someone else is planning to immigrate to the UK, it is important to consult official information from the UK government website or seek advice from an immigration lawyer.